we do have this match currently ahead of us, and it looks like both players are greening in to game number 1 on Bering Strait. iamturk selecting Germany and Lucas selecting China. Alright, so sorry about that. Let me get the colors back on. We do have Lucas L99 in the color green in the northeast of the map, and in the southwest is iamturk in the color blue, playing Germany. It does look like it was a wood start, so both players are going to be immediately laying down their trading posts, and the benefit of the Chinese civilization is that they do have this disciple, which can do a little bit of extra scouting. He could come across 40 wood here. 40 wood in the back of his base. Let's quickly make sure that the map is balanced. We do have a starting hunt and 1, 2, 3 hunts around the town center for each player. Everything looks pretty balanced. One starting mine is standard on this map. Unfortunately, that is situated in front of iamturk's town center. That's maybe not as ideal as coin mine behind the base, but not necessarily a balance issue, not something worthy of a restart. So Lucas is going to pick up 40 wood, which is definitely going to help speed up his transitory village, especially because the cost of the village was reduced by 10 wood on EPs, so he only needs 190, and we see his macro very well for that, and I expect he'll place it somewhere near this coin mine. You really want a village in this coin mine, and there it goes from Lucas, just to protect those villagers, as the German is sure to send some Uhlans into his base early on. Meanwhile, iamturk has just picked up 80 wood, so this map has a lot of tier 1 and tier 2 wood treasures. It looks like Lucas has likely spotted 2 tier 1, but iamturk now doesn't quite come across 95 wood. Instead, he's just sort of hunkering down towards Lucas's base. I think maybe he wants to try to find the Chinese explorer and harass it. Let's quickly turn on Fog of War. So Lucas did not yet scout that 40 wood above his base, and iamturk is just going to wait for his crack shot to recharge in order to pick up this 40 wood. Let's turn game volume up just a smidgen. Make sure I'm not muted or anything. Alright, everything's looking pretty good. So let's take a quick look at the decks. This is pretty standard from iamturk. The interesting thing is that he does have those Polish winged hussars in the age 4. So that does allow him to send 10 guard hussars, which is quite a strong shipment in the age 4 for Germany. You don't see that in a lot of decks, but Lucas does like to go for FI-oriented playstyles sometimes, and now this is an interesting deck. Really, we do have Mongolian Scourge, so Steppe Riders do more damage against villagers and buildings. Interesting. And Keshiks, it also adds a 1.0 multiplier against all hand cavalry. And he does have the 8 Keshiks infinite card in age 3, so these two cards do synergize pretty well. And Atonement, so he can train iron troops from the monastery. So this is somewhat an unorthodox deck. However, he does have all of the critical cards you'd expect from a Chinese player: 8 Chokanus, 9 Pikes, 7 Steppes, etc. You know, 5 Meteor Hammers, Intervention, Manchus. And in the age 4, he does have 21 Chokanus and 21 Quang Pikemen and the old Dynasty reform. So this was slightly tweaked on the most recent version of EP to now affect not only Chokanus and Quang Pikemen, but also Keshiks and Steppe Riders. So we'll see if Lucas does want to go for some sort of FI-oriented playstyle. In the meantime, Turk has found the Chinese monk taking on two tigers by himself, and this could get dicey. I don't think the monk will fall, but who is going to pick up this 85 wood? It's about 190 wood swing, and it's close, but I think Turk got it. Turk did get it, and he's got the snare off on the Chinese monk too, so this is a really nice age 1 for him. The wood breakdown, Lucas gets 40 wood, and and 80 food, but Turk gets 80 wood, 40 wood, and another 85 wood. So I think coming out slightly ahead there in age 1. And apologies, I was a little zoomed in there. But no, Lucas will not be able to age up in time. So that's a nice 90 experience for the German player, and immediately laying down an in-base stable. And Lucas is chopping a lot of wood, and he's going to immediately lay down an in-base war academy. So a bit of a semi-FF here, I think. Not going to go for that standard 700 coin naked FF. And I will be curious to see what his first shipment here is in age 2. I expect it'll be 700 wood. I don't know that you would send a unit shipment first if you're in base and laying down a barracks, and there goes the market. Could potentially see a consulate with the 700 wood, which I expect is going to be coming in. Let's change these to shipment sent and units in queue. The German player is currently housed. And yes, we do have 700 wood for Lucas L99. And Lucas did rescue his monk with his disciple, but these 2 Uhlans are going to actually get it a second time. Perhaps. Here comes the anti-cavalry army from the Chinese player. I don't actually know what it's called, but it does give you 2 Quang Pikemen and 3 Keshiks. So this is, I like this. This is a nice adaptation from Lucas. You know that the German player is going to make lots of Uhlans, so you want to make the anti-Uhlan army. However, you have to be very careful because those pikemen were attacking the explorer, and the Uhlans got on top of these Keshiks, and once the Uhlans get on top of the Keshiks, these guys don't fare too well. And just like that, if we look at units lost, yeah, for 1 Uhlan, now 2 Uhlans, but for 2 Uhlans, he lost his entire army batch. So not the greatest trait for Lucas, I would say, and forced to call the early help entries. But just more Uhlans coming out for iamturk, though, which I don't know is the proper response when you scout that your opponent is training that anti-cavalry army. But he is going to just go back in. The sentry's doing well, though. They don't lose hit points as fast as European Minutemen, so going to take off some critical hit points. However, this does leave iamturk up 18-0 in military population here. It doesn't look like... Okay, Lucas does train 1 more batch and does have 1 more batch in queue, so this is something that he's going to need. And the consulate is going to go up, which could potentially give him access to those British redcoats sooner rather than later. However, the villager's going to go down. That's kind of a big loss. And again, look at these Uhlans just tearing through these H2 Keshiks. It's insane. The army's not even doing what it's supposed to, honestly. And another batch and 1 from the Summer Palace. So just pure Keshiks, pure Quang Pikemen here from Lucas. And now even forced to ship 9 pikes and losing a villager up at his TC, it looks like, yes. And so far, this aggression from iamturk has definitely paid off. Again, let's just take a quick look at units lost. 3 villagers and 14 units for about 14 Uhlans. I'd be very happy with this trade if I were iamturk. And it looks like he's macroing to age up now. Indeed, taking all of his villagers off coin, ship the 700 coin, and is just going to happily go on up to age 3 and says, I killed 3 of your villagers, I'm in a pretty good spot. But Lucas is pushing out of the map now. Wants to apply a little bit of aggression. He snuffs that iamturk is going to age up now, so he could potentially get some things done, like at least kill maybe a house or 2. We'll see how iamturk manages to deal with this. He's now just clicked up to age 3, and it looks like Lucas is macroing to age up behind this. However, he will be up significantly later than the German player. And it looks like Lucas is just going to go immediately for that trading post rather than a house. And iamturk now choosing to apply counter pressure? No. Changes his mind, wants to stay back in base. Lucas did smartly leave 5 pikemen back in his base because he knows he doesn't need all of them to siege this trading post. And now atonement comes out for Lucas. So as we mentioned earlier, allows him to train iron troops at the monastery. And I don't know how this is going to work. You only start with 1 coin mine on this map, your access to the second coin mine is very far out, and iamturk is actually able to save this trading post with Minutemen, and the Explorers there to snare. The Uhlans are just melting these Keshiks. Stand no chance. And iamturk is just playing this very solidly. Kind of a really nice pickup for him. Like, those 6 Minutemen are definitely paying off here. And just now laying the wonder after Germany has already been up in the Age 3. So I'm curious to see what iamturk will send first, if he chooses to go for greedy playstyle with 1000 wood, or if he wants to apply pressure while he knows that his opponent is probably a little weak. Only has a handful of Quang pikemen in his base to defend. 9 Uhlan comes out. These are tech to veteran, 5 skirmishers as well. However, it's going to take a while for them to cross the map here. Okay, very nice from Lucas to take that villager off that far hunt, bring it in a little bit closer, try to protect it. But again, I'm curious, I mean, what... I just don't know how I feel about this Atonement card, and now an end-phase monastery coming down. He's only got 1,000 coin left in this coin mine. And this is his second mine, so the villager wants to come out here, I think, and lay a village close to it, but Turk is just being very smart with his units, has his explorer here, checking that out, and now these Uhlans are coming in to try to do some damage. Gonna pick off another villager. These are such high damage cavalry units. And Lucas is in a little bit of trouble, I would say. Does reach up, you know, he is into the 3rd age, has that British consulate teched. A lot of Uhlans out here. This is a pretty good trade, though. I mean, you've got these Quangs on these veteran Uhlans. I think that's as good as you could want. Popping villagers out to kill these 0 HP Minutemen. Very nice move. Gotta be careful not to lose them. Does lose 1. But now it's just more skirms, more Uhlans just flooding the Chinese base. And it's going to take maybe a miracle pop. Another villager goes down. So 1 Iron Troop is in queue from this... Now 2 Iron Troops and 5 Meteor Hammers. This is going to have to be some sort of miracle engagement. Just more units coming flooding in from iamturk. This is RE German style, right? Just straight skirm Uhlans. 9 Uhlans, 8 skirms. And Lucas is not even comfortable just running away with these Meteor Hammers, forced to try to sack 1, but iamturk has another angle on him. And that's going to be rough if he loses this entire shipment for free, basically. It looks like that's what's going to happen. Turk with his excellent mechanics, trying to task on multiple cav, onto the individual cav so he keeps them all snared, but 2 do escape finally. However, Turk is just up 66 to 9 population, and I don't know how China comes back from this. 11 swords. And it looks like finally those 2 Iron Troops came out and that Explorer was killed. So a village is going to be plopped down on the second mine. Going to try to secure himself some more resources to go for Iron Troops. But Turk is really hunting down these 2 Meteor Hammers, and he's going to find them. Reacts immediately. And that's a tough loss for Lucas. It does buy him a little bit of time, but I don't know if that's what he necessarily... you know, I don't know if time is going to bring him back into this game. And Turk even just smartly placing down a macaque on this extra herd out here. So really suffocating the Chinese player here at the moment. Porcelain Tower is tasked to wood, but I don't know. How is he going to get enough army out? He's got 4 Iron Troops in queue. Honestly, if he can complete that and get 5 out, he might be able to repel all these skirmishers, perhaps. But look at all these Uhlans. And yeah, at the moment, these skirmishers are just going to take off some valuable hit points from those Iron Troops. And Turk's reactions are on point here, just sniping that villager as soon as it pops out of the town center. You know, sees the Iron Troops, knows that there's only 1 starting coin mine on this map, and starts pressuring this second coin mine. Now here comes the right click. These iron troops cannot get into hand combat or else they will get melted. Cap combat coming in at the perfect time for this fight for iamturk, and this is, yeah, that's a cleanup, and GG's been called. iamturk takes game number 1 in this playoff fight series. Well played to him. Just very solid stuff, and Lucas's atonement game plan did not quite work out, unfortunately. Just kind of lost a lot of villagers. If we just look at villager count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, kind of lost throughout the game. That's rough to come back, and especially when you're taking, I suppose the trades weren't that bad, and this one was decent, but Germany is just scales super hard, and when he's in your base that much and you're idled that often, it's really tough to get units out. If you look at this, just idle villagers, yeah, that's really tough. I'm sure we'll see that in all resources gathered. Germany is way ahead. Just quickly looking at chat after that game, Perez makes a very good point, saying that Lucas stayed H2 because he wanted to have some Keshiks to defend in Fortress with his Iron Troop game plan, but unfortunately all those Keshiks were just killed by the Ulans. You have to micro those so perfectly in order not to get them in hand combat too much. Or else they just get melted. So all those Keshiks died, was forced to send 9 pike just to defend, and at that point it was kind of too late. The ninjas do lock first in game 2, so that is iamturk. And the map is Kamchatka, the Summer Edition. You know, I almost expect them to go Japan here. Japan's one of Turk's main civs, but Japan is also open to be counter-cived. However, Lucas just played China, so I don't know how many civs Lucas has up his sleeves that really counter Japan. I think he could play Eero or potentially Sioux as well. I'm going to get off Sioux. I thought that this was the civilization Lucas picked earlier. Just go to my main squeeze, Brit. And Turk is locking India. Interesting. I think general consensus is that India is a little unimpressive on this latest version of EP. But it still has a lot of things going for it. And we'll see what Lucas chooses to play now. We have seen some game plans against India where the player against India has gone H4 and made lots of heavy cannons because India doesn't have a great culverin unit. They do have siege elephants, however the range on siege elephants isn't great. But I do believe that the range was increased slightly on EP. At least I know that the range of sight, the line of sight was. So I think they've got more viable answers to the fast industrial. But Lucas is choosing Aztec now. And that's a civ that he also plays a lot. Lucas plays a lot of war chief civilizations. And also China, he's also very, very much known for. So curious to see how this one will go. In the past, I would say that Aztec typically ages fast to H2 and places an aggressive war hut. And the Indian player places an in-base Agra, which is in range of his town center fire at all areas around its circumference so that the Aztec player cannot so easily siege it. However, Aztec do gain sort of an additional age-up politician. They now have access to the 2 free war hut age-up politicians. So we'll see if Lucas chooses to showcase that in this game plan. iamturk is in, well, sort of the northwest of the map. In the color blue playing India, and in the southeast is Lucas in the color green playing Aztec. Of course, we do have those goats mid-map that both players are going to want to pick up, and it looks like India is going to get the 4 here in the center. I'm curious, it looks like that these 2 goats did not spawn. So let's take a quick look at the map. Hunt seemed pretty balanced, and so do the mines, but it looks like 2 goats just didn't spawn in the middle, which is okay. And picking up that free macaque treasure in base with a villager, which I quite like. I think it's very smart to go to the middle with your explorer right away, and then get a villager to get that free macaque treasure, just so that you don't slow your explorer down at all, and you have a chance to contest these 2 goats. iamturk is going to be picking up an early 85 wood, which is going to help him a lot because he is India. And they just go through wood in age 1 as their villagers cost wood, of course, we know this. And Lucas gonna find a goat. 45 coin, a little underwhelming. There's 40 wood up further north near iamturk's base, and Turk is also going to go for 80 food. So again, another nice treasure to help him age up even faster, which I think is important in this matchup for sure. Those goats, hopefully they don't get stolen. And Turk is actually just using his macaque to just pick up treasures. Help him get these guys a little faster, and gonna find 40 wood as well, so should be able to stun this guy pretty soon. Lucas's macaque scouts it, but his explorer is not really in position to steal. Picked up a tiger from which treasure? From 40 wood. It looks like he converted the tiger from 40 wood. And that macaque is going to go down. Is the Indian explorer going to go down? No, it lives with 4 hit points. Now getting immediately healed by Sexy is the hero name. And Turk is on top of it, stunning that tiger just in the nick of time so that it couldn't get any damage on that elephant. He's going to escape with all of his units quite impressively. Just barely out of range, just barely out of snareable range. First shipment for both player, pretty standard. Distributivism for iamturk and 3 villagers for Lucas. And there comes that wonder placed at 309. It's quite a fast age up time for the Indian civilization. And as I said, very close to the town center. All points of this agrophore are within the firing range of the town center, so that a Puma Spearman Maselton Rush can't just take it down without suffering some damage. But Lucas is not aging up fast. He is going for that slower age 2 war hut politician that was slightly tweaked in the latest hotfix of EP8, so that the war huts now, I believe, build slower when they are being constructed. So not quite, potentially susceptible to some early aggression from the opponent player. Chopping a lot of wood here for Lucas and taking down a middle trading post. So I don't think he's going to rush per se, but we'll have to see what his game plan is. If he wants to go for some sort of FI build or just reach H3 or sort of prolonged eco-centered H2, I think his first couple shipments in H2 are really going to tell us a lot about how he's going to play. Meanwhile, the Indian civilization, I expect, will just do things like ship 600 wood, get a consulate up, sort of play defensive, but a little greedy in the space. Using his macaque to scout the middle of the map, sees that trading post, knows he's not going to get all in rushed, especially because Aztec is now just aging up. This is not their fast age up time. And the 2 war huts. So also immediately scouted by iamturk. He wants to find out where those guys are going to be placed, but Lucas has his explorer in a pretty good spot to snare this Indian elephant, and if he gets snared, it's going to be very hard for it to escape. But just seeing where these are placed is huge information for iamturk. Very defensively oriented, just cutting off this choke, which I do like the placement of these. But now Turk can go really quite greedy if he wants to. And if you let India go pretty greedy, I think that that's when they become a very scary civ. They're a little slow, but if they can get away with their game plan, they can be very tough to deal with. And he's got that trading post, so this is sort of a greedy style from iamturk. 700 wood is the first card that comes down for Lucas, so not 3 warrior priests, but just wants some infrastructure. Wants market upgrades, etc. Wants the second trading post. And units in queue are either player training anything. 2 Pumas, so Lucas I think does want to stage 2. Turk just trading Seaboys, never a bad option to be honest. Yes, and now 10 Maceholds comes out as the second card. So Lucas is going for definitely a sort of a greedier H2 style, but he wants to still provide a timing against iamturk with this sort of classic Puma Spearman Maceholton rush. And that macaque in the middle of the map is not going to scout that. He actually moves off that trading post. And as a result, iamturk is not going to be aware of what's coming, but he's just playing it pretty safe in his base. Just Gurkha Seaboys, it's kind of what you want. H2O always played this matchup, actually starting Gurkhas, back when Aztec even hard rushed. Now 600 wood coming in, so just going to fuel his mass even further, get more houses down, more Maceholtons, more Puma Spearmen, and going to choose a time to right click. I think once he gets all the units out from that card, he'll be feeling pretty good, but I don't know. It's now these 2 war huts are almost awkwardly placed. If he wants to apply pressure to this trading post, that's quite a lot of walking time for those Aztec units, and honestly I think that Turk just has enough here to just kind of trap this. Lucas has no answer to the Gurkhas at the moment. Even the Seaboys are catching some of the reinforcing Maceholtons, so forced to retreat here, but iamturk smells blood, and I think he wants to get as good a trade as he can here. Gets the 2 elephants in here, maybe he can get a pretty nice stun, and just continuing to chase down with more units. Just gonna stomp a couple stomps, but doesn't really work on these mobile units, so looks like Lucas is going to be able to escape for now, but just units lost. Lost 5 Maceholtons and 2 Pumas for free there. Not ideal. Now adding in some Coyote runners. And Stagecoach being researched, I have to assume that that was the Aztec player. He does have the 2-to-1 TP majority. And he really needs those Coyote runners to have an answer to these Gurkhas, which do have more range than the Maceholtons. 2 more range. Killer stops coming out for these 2 elephants. Pretty important skirmish here going on, and those elephants are tanking a ton. 700 HP worth of tank, and there's not a whole lot of Coyote runners left to snare here. And Turk is just going to be able to kite out of here just fine, but actually the Maceholton count is growing and even more Coyote runners coming in here. But both players are just going to back up a bit. So the economies are, it's in the India player's favor. Went very greedy actually with foreign logging his first card in H2 when he scouted these 2 sort of semi-defensive war huts. And the Aztec player does have 2 trading posts to just 1 for iamturk, but still India has a better economy. Also kind of the better units so far. Once he gets some camels out, which he does have a stable in base, I think his composition is going to be very good against the Aztec player. But for now, Aztec does have the 3-unit composition favor. So actually, this is a ton of Coyote runners. The Seaboys are dropping like flies to the Maceholtons, and only 3 Gardener Husks are coming out. But Puma Spearmen are also just in time to provide some anti-cavalry damage here, and this is a really good trade for Lucas so far. Held minutes and Ottoman Minutemen being called from the consulate as well. And it looks like that's actually going to be enough to push him back. These Coyote Runners do not have Coyote Runner combat on them yet, and due to India's ability to just kind of get a lot of free units out at a crucial point, saw those Gardner Husks, the Minutemen, and also the sentries from the town center, was able to repel that just fine. It looked very scary there for a moment for iamturk, but doing just fine now. And now a batch of 5 Soars come out, and not a lot of Pumas, no Pumas actually, for Lucas yet, and doesn't have any AQ either. So this could be rough. And now 4 Soars coming out. Lucas sees the aggression here. Gonna try to get those villagers away. Manages to do so, but his trading post is going to scout all of these Soars. Coyote Combat comes out now, though, and with Coyote Combat, I think that these guys are going to do pretty well versus Soars, but there's just a lot of units here for iamturk, a lot of DPS. And it looks like just more stuff principle is going to benefit iamturk here. The Coyote Runners are all going to fall. There's still a decent amount of Soars up left. And that's like War Chief is tanking, but it's not going to be enough. Tons of DPS in the form of Gurkhas in the background, and this just isn't necessarily going to work. We do see the 3 Jaguar Prowl Knight Big Button being called for Lucas. Going to try to retreat to this very defensive position and try to hold, but right now 43-5 population for iamturk. This looks like it could spell GG. iamturk is actually just going to go back, choosing to play it very safe. Doesn't want to get surprised here. Doesn't have a ton of anti-cav, only some Soars that aren't upgraded or carded yet, so content to just pick off this stagecoach, which does represent 4 villagers, and Lucas just resigns there. So Turk taking a 2-0 game lead so far with some very impressive performances, I think. Quite a good day for him so far. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what happens if you let India, I think, get away with going greedy in H2. They just have really good units, and Aztec, you know, not the greatest of units. Coyote Runners with Coyote Runner Combat are pretty decent for 1 pop unit, but I mean, just access to these Gurkhas. Soars are very good versus Mace Sultans, especially if there aren't Pumas alive, and Turk just playing very solid, very impressive. Oh, joined too early. All right, I'm gonna take a quick trip to the restroom, but be right back.
Yes.
Alright, looks like I'm back just in time. I think the players have agreed on a matchup. Sioux versus Japan on Adirondacks. That is the correct map, yes. And it looks like iamturk is thinking things through. Trying to formulate a game plan, perhaps. Lucas's Sioux is pretty scary, and I think he's one of the best Sioux players out there. He really knows his ins and outs around the Civ. We saw lots of people go to Sioux when they had sort of infinite, economic upgrade TPs, and they could never get rushed, and then they would just call big button at like 18 minutes and eventually win the game with super good units. But ever since they've been readjusted and sort of play more similar to RE style of Sioux, Lucas is kind of one of the few players to still rotate it in his Civ pool frequently. And that just comes down to, I think, how well he knows the Civ, and he's not afraid to go for some aggressive openings with it. So I'm very curious to see how he plays this matchup. Of course, Japan is probably considered iamturk's main civilization, or one of them. He also plays a lot of European civs that go for some standard semi-FFs, as we've seen so far. And he likes the Skirmishes play. But as we've said, iamturk in the color blue in the west playing Japan. And in the east in the color green is Lucas playing Sioux. The map is Adirondacks, and it looks like it was a wood start. Both players going to be happy. Let's take a quick look at the map. Interesting spawn, but this is kind of how this map does spawn. You don't always get a hunt back here. So both players have their starting hunt and second, third. Everything looks pretty balanced. The coin mines are very far out for, well, especially for Lucas. That's wild, but it's how it spawned. Coin mines are fair, both players get 2. So iamturk is going to go for a consulate opening instead of doing something like laying down a shrine or 2. He's going to pick up 75 wood. It's super nice for him. And he's going to wait, I think, to get that consulate allied onto the Portuguese so he can lay down just tons of shrines. And doesn't even have Kami in deck, so we're definitely going to see 3 fishing boats. But he's still going for that Portuguese consulate opening, which I like, and that's a totally fair thing to do. The converted outlaw rifleman scouts the Japanese monk. The Japanese monk is a little late, doesn't get that stun off, so for now this rifleman is out and about and alive. And the first shrine comes down for iamturk, the second one is being built now, so a nice 2 shrine opening here. Just kind of getting a free shine off that 75 wood. But Lucas is harassing doofully, but with that stun out and that second Japanese monk nearby, he's going to be able to pick it off, which is a really nice pickup for him. It's not going to be harassed so much in H1 or later on in the game. Other interesting treasures, we have a tomahawk up north, 70 food there, bear cub, 90 food, and etc., etc. So nothing too influential on the map right now. So let's go ahead and turn on the Fog of War. There we go. 3 fishing boats comes out first for iamturk. Immediately plots them on a group of salmon. Very, very nice, flopping about there. And some birds as well, but not fishing the birds, I don't think. This is actually a really nice animation. The birds are, getting a little bit of fish scraps there from the villagers. Nice, cohesive, symbiotic, natural picture there. I don't know. Just trying to find something to talk about in Age 1, you know. Both players are getting treasures. That bear cub is going to be nice to harass this monk if it aggroes. Does it aggro? No. Oh, it was converted. It was not the one picked up over here. So, my mistake. That converted bear immediately stunned, taking out the divine strike by iamturk. So, not much. I should have actually paid attention to when this trading post was built. So I know that it was a wood start. The Sioux player started with 100 wood. However, he just now built his TP. So I think that he saved that wood to get a very speedy trading post in transition. And Turk is aging up with the Toshuga Shrine. This is just classic Japanese style base defense placement. He does have it on a herd of villagers, or sorry, of deer, so that they will be tasked to the wonder, but it really synergizes nicely with where this consulate is placed, where these trees are going to obstruct the pathing of the Sioux cavalry a lot, and I really like this. This is just a 20 wood wall that just completely zones off this part of his base. And honestly, he could actually close off the rest of it with another 20 wood or so. Let's see what he opts for. We do have a forward war hut coming out for Lucas, but because iamturk didn't necessarily go for this Kami playstyle, doesn't even have it in deck, his shrine boom isn't going to be crazy. Sitting on 60 shrines right now, excuse me. And Turk's style of Japanese oftentimes doesn't count on shrining the whole map. It actually goes for very few exposed shrines and instead opts to go for some more defensively placed shrines. And I expect him to shrine these up actually pretty soon, so that his opponent can't just get free raiding off so much around the map. Wow, Lucas is actually taking this trading post too, so I think he wants to go for some stagecoach shenanigans. An early barracks being placed down by iamturk, pretty early, but still very defensively kind of build so far. 700 wood is the first card for the Sioux player, so I think he definitely wants to get some sort of stagecoach happening. But this is going to be a very tough trading post to defend. And he's actually opening up with Setan bows instead of the clubmen to siege some shrines. And I'm wondering if he isn't a little wary of iamturk shipping an early 5 Ashes, which he has been known to do from time to time, which would kind of shut down club opening. But now shipping axe riders, training some clubs now, and feels like he has enough units to do what he wants to do. And Turk is actually going ultra defensive now, closing off the rest of his space, adds this nice little gate here, which is really aesthetically pleasing, I might say. But we'll see if it's competitively viable. And here we go, shining up these 2 defensive hunts right here, which I quite like a lot because that's very defensible with some Yumi archers placed around here. But in the meantime, there's nothing to really defend these shrines from these 5 war clubs, and Lucas is actually hiding the 4 axe rider shipments, choosing to only show these clubs, perhaps baiting iamturk. And now that the Yumis are shown, he's just going to go full in with the cab. But iamturk feels comfortable enough to get back. He's going to maybe lose 1, but he's going to try to pull, I think. Going to try to pull and even popping in villagers into this TC to get some damage done on this cavalry. And really well done by Turk there. I think he took a fine trade, but there are a lot of Setan bows left, and Turk is forced to sort of get this awkward idle time to get enough town center firing in order to defend that kind of initial push. And as a result, the second shrine is going to come down for Lucas. But going to lose a club for it, going to lose a club or 2. But again, iamturk is just getting very bold with his Yumis here, but always feels confident or comfortable enough to get within the safety of his walls. However, didn't take as good of a trade that time, I have to say. A lot of Yumis died, and there are a lot of Setan bows here, still sort of raining arrows down, and the hero goes down, the clubs go up north to just keep constantly sieging, and stagecoach was researched a while ago, I believe. And now 4 villagers coming down for Lucas, so following this up with sort of a more economic style. However, Turk has shipped 4 villagers twice after 600 wood, so all this said, 43 to 28 is the recalculated economic population, but you do have to add 10 to 12 villagers for these 3 stagecoach trading posts for Lucas, so it gets closer, but Turk is still definitely economically in the lead, but the Sioux civilization can become very scary very quickly. And it looks like he's perhaps macroing for 700 coin shipment. He's a lot of food stacked. Is the only thing I'm wondering about. A couple forward TPs, I like this actually. Just adds to the defensive potential of this war hut if he does get pushed. And also going to boost his gather rate here mid-map. But kind of as I was saying earlier, Turk's style of Japan isn't necessarily to shrine the whole map. He does get some shrines out there in transition just to buy himself some time, but after these shrines are all sieged, Turk just opts for like super defensible shrines here. And interesting, trying to siege this trading post with some Yumis. The 4 Axe Riders going to try to defend it, and he will defend it. Turk is getting a very nice reaction. He must have been watching there. Got these Ashies here. A decent trade for Turk there, I think, but it's very nice for Lucas to defend it. But now Turk is sort of starting to mass a scary amount of H2 units, and Lucas is going to age up here very soon. So I don't know if he can defend this trading post much longer. He's going to keep trying, but surely I think Turk should be able to discern that Lucas doesn't have a lot of units on the field and he's not really adding many more, that Lucas is definitely going to be aging soon. It looks like Turk is going to be aging soon too with this shipment of 700 coin. So, a little caught out of position there. Nice micro from Lucas. The Yumis were firing on the Sioux War Chief, which is very good for Lucas. And it looks like he's actually going to be able to push all these units off. So if he hadn't tried to defend this at all, he would have lost out on about 3 passes of the stagecoach trading post line, and he's going to keep defending it for a little while. Even training some C-10 bows, even though he's getting ready to age up very soon. Just to, I think, continue defending this. And I'd like to see this repaired. And it is. It's being repaired now. So nice play from Lucas. Both players are aging up at roughly the same time. We just take a quick look at text being researched. Lucas is aging up with the Wise Woman, so that's actually the 12 Bison and the 15% Gathering upgrade. So he's going to be up slower than iamturk, who does have 8 villagers on the Wonder. I mean, this is kind of interesting. We've just had a real back and forth here just over the contention of this trading post, and nothing really being decided yet. Both players sort of whittling away at each other's army, but Lucas has been able to defend it for an impressive amount of time. And just having clubs sieging shrines around the map all the meanwhile. So C-Tans are doing pretty well versus these Ashies, but the Ashies are also getting some good DPS on the Axe Riders, and all the Axe Riders do go down for the time being. This War Chief is sort of a pesky tank. Oh, nice. The Portuguese crossbows do come out finally for iamturk. Could have sent them a little earlier, but still a nice pickup for him. But a reinforcing patch of 5 Axe Riders, and this is just... There's really been nothing going on the screen that hasn't been taking place here for the last 5 minutes. So everything is super back and forth while both players are aging. However, the Japanese player just still has better economy and a lot of food left on his orchards, about 3,000, and we're at 12 minutes. So because he sent that early 3 fishing boats and he sent the Portuguese consulate fishing boats early on in Age 2, he's been able to save a lot of food on his orchard. So he's going to be able to sneak out an extra Age 3 shipment here before he has to send the 2 orchards. So it's going to be nice for him to hold the inevitable Sioux timing. I think that the Sioux player wants to, I think, you know, I feel like Sue has to do something kind of soon because Japan will end up outscaling, even if he has to place all of his shrines in base, you know, not on hunts. But it looks like that this hero was trying to reshrine around the map, and Lucas's clubman picked him off. So very nice move from Lucas. He's just strategically placing clubmen on each of these hunts and guarding this. Monk will kind of moving up top now, but and very out on the map in order to just get line of sight everywhere on all of these hunts. So he really doesn't want the Japanese player to shrine anything at all. But Turk is just creeping out across the map, just taking any hunts he can shrine as possible while he's getting ready to go to H4. I mean, this is Turk style Japan. Like this is it. I don't know what else to say. Has no shrines out on the map and then just goes H4 with some walls. Like, doesn't even have room in base to place the Shogunate Wonder. Crazy. But this hasn't really been discerned from Lucas. He doesn't really know what's going on right now. Just no anti-cat. Just has these this refuge behind these walls he can always run back to. Just crossbowmen and Yumis and go H4. Meanwhile, Lucas has had 3 TP stagecoach for the entire game. And we'll see though, I mean, this could be tough for Turk to hold. He's now adding in, you know, additional wall segments, but these walls do have half the hit points that they do on RE, so if Turk sees this H4 click up from iamturk, or sorry, if Lucas sees the H4 click up from iamturk, he could just start right clicking with these beefy axe riders. Cap combat now. Does he have fire pit anywhere? Not yet, but he has wood for it. And he sees H4, but he doesn't, you know, he's not going yet. And looking at his resources, he might actually be trying to go H4 himself. Scores are pretty even. Japan is up a bit, but Sue gets a little underrepresented because they don't have to build any hunts. And I actually like this. Lucas has shipped Adoption, which on EP8 was tweaked to now be minus 40% villager train time. And this synergizes really well with the Bison Age Up because you get very fast gather rate on all of this food to help fuel your speedy villager production. And it's possible to do this because you don't need a fire pit. So normally if you want to train villagers very fast with Sue, you'd have to build a fire pit and get, you know, like 15 villagers dancing on it. But all of those villager seconds really miss out on gathering, so if you want to keep up with villager production, you can't really make units. But because of this card here, you can actually continue to make villagers, continue to make units, and it's just it just feels very strong, especially in team. I've been using it a lot, but it's cool to see it implemented in a 1v1 game. But still, you're going against Japan in H4, and that's not an easy thing to do. We have still just disciplined units from iamturk and gathering up the resources to tech those up to guard. Just more clubs, just trying to sniff out any remaining shrines on the map, but iamturk just doesn't care. He's only on 140 shrine pop. And if you look at that shrine pop to that, you know, max population to current population number for iamturk the whole game, it's going to be pretty close. He's never actually been super shrine booming. He's just kind of been building shrines when he needs to not be housed. And finally, the orchards run out for Turk, so he actually choosing to not ship that card until it's got to ship it now. Yeah, 17 minutes and 20 seconds. He's just sent a card. The shrines are on food to kind of help ease that transition. The shrine being immediately built and immediately sieged by Lucas, so being very proactive with his units around the map, trying to get as much information as possible and tech up these axe riders to champion. And honestly, with this second town center and this adoption card, the Sue player is slowly crawling back in economy because he did have these trading posts working for him the whole time. However, Japanese has secured one for himself, so that advantage kind of goes away. And, ooh, really needs some... This could be big here. I don't know who I'm flaring to. I'm just casting by myself, but... If these clubs start aggroing, Turk actually scouts out immediately. And kind of clever, pulls back the villagers that would be in line of sight of these clubs and gets some mining done on the left side of the mine. Lucas isn't really in position to contest this right now either, and I think he's going to lose out on these clubs, unfortunately, but they aren't doing a whole lot right now. Yeah, just colonial clubs now, you know. So more sort of new Sioux play from Lucas. Now this is aggressive expansion policy. So again, that this card was changed on EP8. So the economic gathering boost of your TPs goes from 8 to 24%. So 3 times increase, which is not small. And that synergizes also well with these Embase Bison, and especially with the infinite 20 Bison card that Sioux gets in Age 4. And if you've played this Civ at all, in sort of mid to late game on EP, you know that its economy is actually quite strong. And Lucas is now macroing for the dog, Soldier Big Button, I think. But when I play this Civ in 3v3 on EP, well, for one, I also ship Great Hunter in H2, which is 25% boost in gathering, in hunting. But I only need like 15 villagers on Bison underneath my town center to supply all of the food that I need to make units. And I just constantly have 25 villagers on a fire pit. It feels very strong, and I think that we could see this from Lucas. However, he has just run out of Bison, so he might need to ship that card next. I sort of maybe dislike aggressive expansion instead of 20 Bison, but okay, we do have a fight coming on, so iamturk is just continuing to go for his Japanese welling style and just kind of making it a pain to path into here with the cavalry of the Sioux player. We actually see champion C-10 bows. When was the last time you saw this? Not going with Joaquina riflemen, but champion C-10s. I don't even know if I've ever seen this skin before. We have some geese flying around, but interesting. Let's just follow these guys for a bit. They look cool, not gonna lie. But the Sioux player is much more mobile, right? So they have 6.75 speed cav with the speed aura boost from the War Chief Civ. So he is going to be able to kind of be a nuisance around the map, just run around and start sieging things. He is on siege stance. He's dancing on a fire pit back home. And this is going to be annoying for iamturk, but I'm glad to see a player try to punish this wall style from the Japan player from the Sioux side. Forced now to move sort of the slower moving ball of infantry, but he's got to be careful not to get caught out of position here. But I think he's totally fine. He's going to take down this very viable golden pavilion. No, he's forced to retreat, or he still wants it. But I think you have to siege this. I think you have to siege this wall here. I don't know if you can just go out. Oh, he's getting caught though. You have to siege dance this. And he's gonna try, but it's just too late. It's too late now. Oh, and he's just utterly trapped. I mean, how do you get out of this? Just try to siege things, but this is now totally worth it for iamturk. The Sioux player has been spending all game in order to mass up this cavalry, and now it's just deleted. So a very high risk, high reward decision from Lucas, and it hurts you to see it not pay off. Man, just that's a tough decision that you have to make split second, and any sort of indecision can just, I think, ruin the outcome. And Turk got back in time. I didn't actually see. you know, I think it would have been very smart from Turk to switch actually the Golden Pavilion passive bonus to the speed bonus of his units while he was moving there. I didn't see if he did that, but that would have been smart. But now it just feels like Sue's lost. Sue's actually ahead in eco, but they just lost all of their units. So dogs come out. Is that the big button? It must have been, but it's the big button with nothing else. I mean, Japan isn't even fighting with all of its units, and this is just over. Close combat is in with the Japanese player, and now Ashigaru attacks. It's got the Shogunate, or the Shogun and the Daimyo, so these attack and units are boosted. And oh, this is just I really liked how Lucas was playing this, but. That was just really unfortunate. Got trapped in the Japanese base, lost all of his stuff. He's resigned. So Turk is now up 3-0. Versus Lucas. That one was just, just, you know, pains you to look at that. Because, I mean, how often do you see Sue outgather Japan in a 23-minute game? I really liked how he played it. I really do. But, yeah. I mean, this adoption card I think is just a really nice adaptation here for Lucas. And it paid off. You know, I think it really did pay off. But in the end, he just never really got the big fight. Alright, it's still possible for Lucas to really rein this back in. If he wins the last 2 games, that's 3-2, that's really not bad. But as I was saying sort of before this series started, neither of these teams, their chances of getting in the playoffs are very, very slim. So it's not, you know, it's just not a super important match for the ESOC Premier League just because of how everything ended up winding out over the last 5 weeks. And now the 2 teams that are sort of vying for a second place spot are actually playing each other. So that makes these other matches mean a little bit less, but you know, I don't want to take anything away from the players. We still do have a couple breaks. You know, the highest priced player in the EPL auction playing each other. We do have some high level competitive Age of Empires 3, so you know, these games are always a fun to watch, and especially because Lucas, I think, plays a unique Civ pool that we don't often get to see. I mean, he's played Aztec, Sioux, you know, China. They are definitely atypical Civs. It's not your Germany, it's not your France, it's not your Brit. So I always like to watch Lucas play. So the next map is Iowa. And I believe Nilla Ninja's locked. Great. Yeah, Ninja's locked on Kamchatka, and then, yeah. Huh, alright, so I'm reading chat, and apparently there's a 25-0 Nilla Ninja dream that's still alive. Currently Nilla Ninjas are 8-0. I don't know how, that's so funny. I don't know how the other teams have to break in order for Nilla Ninjas to make the playoffs, or if like 25-0 is their only shot, or if they can go like 24-1 or something, but That would be one for the ages. The ESOC script writers would have outdone themselves. I think that the only team mathematically eliminated from playoffs is SKG so far. Perhaps Biggs is now too, with the sort of 0-8 start on their series against the Ninjas. It's not just 25-0. The second and third teams also need to not increase the gap. Okay. So what, MDS and NWC have to trade even? Something like that. All right, the dream is alive still. Let's go. Let's go, Ninjas. 25-0. All right, Turk is in the color blue, playing Spain in the north of the map, and in the south in the color green is Lucas. This is game 4 of a playoff 5 series, and this is the very last week of the regular season of EPL2. Looks like it was indeed a wood start. Psych, it was not a wood start, it was a food start. So neither player going to be building an early trading post. Both just going to be kind of looking for good treasures. And iamturk immediately going to be starting on 80 food. So I like that he picks this up very quickly because it is sort of mid-map. You don't know where this Aztec Explorer might be. And Lucas is choosing to convert this Outlaw Rifleman. Very strong Guardian. However, its range was decreased on EP8, so not quite as useful for badgering opponent explorers, but still a high DPS unit, very valuable. Just take a quick look at decks. This is very standard from Turk. Has ATP, Unction, 5 Lancers, 4 Lancers, 2 Falcons, etc. And Lucas, I think this is the same deck he used in game 2. Game 2. Yep, he played Aztec in game 2. So again, very standard. In that game, he went for the... Oh, ouch. Yeah, okay, that Spanish Explorer is just bodying that Outlaw Rifleman, so that range nerf was really felt there. But as I was saying, in game 2, Lucas played Aztec, and he went for the 2 Warha age up in sort of like a stagecoach kind of H2 contained play, but iamturk was playing India, and just sort of played greedy and just massed lots of really good units and took good trades and eventually won the game. But here's playing Spain now, and it's a little different civ than India for sure. Kind of maybe polar opposite. So we'll see what he has up his sleeve. It's still versus Aztec, so I don't think you really want to do any sort of ATP shenanigans. I think you just want to go for a naked FF, to be honest. And going to be picking up this Tomahawk, so I don't know. You pick up this Tomahawk, you might want to go ATP because you can kind of control the trading post line with the dog and the Tomahawk. We'll have to see. Shipment sent. So iamturk has sent 3 villagers, and he's got a shipment stacked, and he's not sending it. So I don't think he's going to go ATP. Lucas is aging up with the Shaman, so that is the 2 War Hut age up yet again. He must really like that, feels it's pretty strong. And Turk is going to go for this leftmost trading post. Of course, you want it. You don't ever want to build it in mid-map. I think that goes without saying. The Aztec civilization is definitely the aggressor in this matchup, typically, and it would be very easy to siege down for the Aztec player. So puts it out of the way, puts it out on the left, and can get 2. Whoa, this is 3 stray sheep now. It's kind of not a bad treasure. For the use of just 1 crack shot, because Lucas converted the Outlaw Rifleman from this earlier. And Lucas is laying down his own trading post. Perhaps, is afraid of Spanish player getting sort of a free 3 TP ATP play. And luckily for him, this war chief is beefy enough that it will survive the attacks from this Tomahawk and Gordo, the war dog. So that trading post is going to go up, but it could potentially lose it, but he'll age up in time, I think, to get the HP boost, or should. It's actually going to be very close. Maybe he should kite back so it doesn't take all the damage and he dies just a few seconds before he gets up. That Black Bear, though, does come to revive the Explorer, but still handing 100 experience over to iamturk. Turk is going for, what is this, a forward outpost? Oh, wow, that's huge. Did one of those go down? No, okay, they're both being built. But Lucas could not place those where he wanted to. These war dogs that Turk trained. He trained those war dogs, and very smart play from him, actually. That just completely shuts down this 2 war age up, and as a result, Turk can comfortably place this tower here in the middle of the map. Just a smart play from Turk there. It doesn't even really slow down his age up, because I think in Spain you typically have over 1200 food when you collect the 700 coin. Maybe not though, so potentially could slow it down a bit, but yeah, going for that naked FF style, even going to pick up a native scout, it's going to be very helpful for him. Hasn't really hurted anything, so very fast age up from him. Of course, it's Iowa, so the hunts are all pretty dispersed and difficult to herd, but that could be a factor later on in the game. Units in queue, what does the Aztec player have? He's trained a handful of Puma yet again, but with this Tomahawk, the Explorer, and some war dogs, I think he should be able to defend this tower. iamturk is now just clicked up, so he can now afford to spend food on war dogs. And I don't know how I feel about this for Lucas. Yeah, Lucas is forced to go back because these war dogs do so well. 3 Mace Holtons coming out now, but is it even going to be enough to get this tower down? I think so. Okay, I think that he can get the tower down, but I think that that's okay for Spain. The thing with Spain now is so often we see Spanish gold as a first H3 card, which actually iamturk does not have it in deck, so that's one thing to point out. But I think that a lot of games we do see Spain actually does lose this forward tower, and then instead of just being like a super fast rush bot, they just ship Spanish gold at home and go for this sort of later eco kind of techie Spain style, where they ship, cap combats, and wow, actually iamturk does not have Guerreros either, which I believe is a card that adds a 1.0 multiplier for Lancers against infantry and also gives them increased range. So we are certainly not going to see the Spanish gold techie game plan from iamturk, which, well, that's good because here comes the Aztec army. Just going to race down this barracks. Actually, there's no hope to save this barracks. European Minutemen no longer bonus versus the Aztec Pumas, and he's going to try to defend it. Only 3 Musketeers coming out, though. This should be easy for Lucas to hold. Even now, 4 Coyotes just coming to add even more damage. And this was a super scary timing for Lucas. I thought everything was looking pretty decent for Turk, and then Lucas just hit his timing. Look at that. 6 Pumas, 10 Mace, and 5 Coyotes shipped. That said, with some smart TC fire, where's this guy hitting? Wants to kill that war chief, I think. Gets 100 XP, and now I would expect to see this targeted on the Pumas, and there you go. One goes down. Another Puma goes down, and with a 5 Lancer shipment, I think Turk could be alright. There we go. Yeah, here comes the 5 Lancers. Not very many Pumas alive. Trying to bring some villagers in to get some more damage. And, oh, but a reinforcing battleship 5 Pumas comes out just in time. And Lucas is going to be able to push this back. Another shipment is on the way for Turk. He's getting a lot of experience here, but so is the Aztec players getting a lot of experience too. And high numbers of reinforcing units come in. And all these villages exposed. This looks pretty good for Lucas so far. Even if he loses his army, I think he's in a decent spot. Just for all the damage he's getting done. But it takes so long for these units to get here. I just don't know what's going to pop. It's got to be 4 Lancers, right? Villagers coming out to tank. Something's got to be popping here. And it is 4 Lancers, so this army is going to be momentarily cleaned up, I think. But still getting a very good trade on the 4 Lancers with these Pumas and Coyotes. And not cleaned up in the slightest. That's totally wrong. Even with all these villagers tanking. Very good trades for Lucas here. And just tons of stuff lost, right? Units lost. 12 villagers down so far for iamturk. So sad. And as well, 2 shipments plus Asia Hussars, barracks, the musketeers. There's another shipment on the way for iamturk, so he still has hope. But what is he going to send now? I mean, do you really have to resort to 5 Hussars? You have to, and that's what's popped. But the reinforcing Pumas are always coming in at the perfect time for Lucas. And going to just fend this off as well. So now he's up 32 to 17 population. Quite good for him. See, the thing that iamturk was kind of missing this whole time was his Explorer to get some DPS from the dogs mixed in there. You know, that could have made things easier to hold perhaps, but he's also got no food. He's gathering absolutely no food, only has villagers on coin. He's gonna micro these Pumas. Nice micro from him, only losing about half an HP from the SAR. Going to try to apply some counter pressure, but he's really got to get out on the map and get some resources. Well, he's only got 18 villagers. He's got to do more than that. He's got to kill a lot of Aztec villagers too, but easier said than done. Going to be picking off a couple coyotes for free, so that's nice, but at this point, Lucas has done so much damage, he doesn't have to pressure the Aztec base at all anymore, I don't think. I think he can just mass up. And yes, you know, Spain will get 2 falconets, but it's going to be very hard for him to get out enough units to defend those falconets. Especially with no military building down at all currently. Yeah, nice trap from Lucas. Going to be picking off a lot of HP here. And 2 falconets are on the floor and only about, 3.5 colonial hussars to defend them. But Turk needs to do something here, so he's trying his best. Trains some dogs from his Explorer, so has a little bit more here now on the field. But yeah, this is going to be a tough fight for him to take. However, Lucas's reinforcements are pretty far out of the way, so it's possible actually that Turk gets a decent trade here. I think, yeah, Lucas has got to go back. That was a great cannon volley. Like six Aztec units actually were killed there, and this is a cleanup for iamturk. So that's exactly what he needed. But at the end of the day, here come the Coyote runners finally. Going to be able to pick off these 2 falconets. And I mean, this just looks like GG here. Spain has no steam. They've completely run out. I mean, finally a barracks comes down, but what are you training? Nothing. You have not very many villagers. Throat's a little scratched. You gotta drink some water. 9 Rodaleros come out. Shows up 8 in the UI, but it is 9. That was changed a few iterations ago on EP. Turk still got this stealth scout, so it's really game changing there. Finally, second military building comes down, so now he gets access to Lancers. But again, just how do you get enough military to make up this economic gap? 3 warrior priests coming down now for Lucas, so he's going to be able to train for more warrior priests. Get that very valuable attack dance buff when this next fight happens. But it's going to take a very big mistake from Lucas to throw from here, I think. And, you know, I also like this. He's very far ahead, but that doesn't mean that you can't be active with your units. And if you've got a fight that you know you can win, why not take it? Why not kill villagers? Why not just keep doing damage? You don't want to get too complacent when you have such a huge advantage. But there are a lot of villagers here to tank. But Lucas is doing a nice job focusing all of his units on military units as well. And at this moment, he can just trade units for eco if he needs to. And GG. So Lucas takes his first win in this series so far in game number 4. So starts bringing it back in, reining in the deficit a bit. And if he wins this last game 3-2, that's a respectable result. So well played from him. I really like this timing that he chose to employ in Age 2. Even after his war huts were forced to be so defensive because iamturk trained some war dogs in transition, he still did tons of damage right when Turk aged up. So look at this. You know, 40 units right when Turk ages up in his base. That's pretty good for Lucas. And just kind of snowballed it there. Just look at the villagers lost. Yeah, all resources gathered. Kind of tells you all you need to know. So popping in chat again after the game, and as always, some very useful analysis going on. A's saying that the mistake was defending the tower with the dogs, otherwise he thinks that he was fine. And that's a very good point. And you also have to question, I guess, the placement of the tower. He knows that he got those defensive war huts in base. I think that you could play very safe as Spain and just drop that tower in your base. You know, keep your hero alive and dogs. And yeah, it does sound like he should have been able to defend that if all those things were in place. But Turk felt like he could go for that forward tower. Felt like he could just go for the shipment spam, but Lucas had that very powerful Mace Hilton Puma Spearman composition. Tons of siege potential there. And wreaked havoc. All right, last map, Wadmala. And Lucas is the player to lock first. And this is one of the more atypical maps in this map pool. As you can see just from the mini-map, very, very water focused, but also has a central trading post line that can't really be pressured from the water. It has a couple of islands that have some cows on them and some berries, a mine, and a treasure usually. The hunts are a little dispersed and pretty far away from your town center. So, you know, it's an interesting one. I feel like you should be able to win on it without going water, but we see water quite a lot from players here. Man, I've chugged so much water during this cast. Almost 2 liters so far. makes my throat get scratchy. Also, I woke up not long before we started casting, so when you're sleeping, you're not drinking. So I like to start rehydrating my body as soon as possible. Get that water flowing, you know, replace all that water you lost from respiration and etc. It's really so thirsty. You know, gotta drink that water, guys. Gotta stay hydrated. Hydro homies. Know what's up. So I don't know if Lucas has locked China. He selected it. They didn't say anything. Now Turk is saying, Alright, so Lucas has locked China, and Turk goes Japan. Kind of a classic Tad Civ matchup, if you ask me. And I've talked about this matchup a little bit with Mido, and I guess I asked for Lucas's opinion on it. Both Mido and Lucas feel comfortable playing this matchup from either side. So I think that they think it's pretty fair, pretty even. But on Wadmala, you know, this is a little unstandard. And I think we'll see Turk kind of play this like he played Japan on Arizona, where he just kind of walls up his base, ships 3 boats, gets the Portuguese boats, and doesn't make a lot of shrines out on the map. And we might see Lucas go for a similar plan, where he makes some H2 units, siege of shrines, take the trading post line, and maybe both go H4. But just wondering here, just running through the options. So how great is this? Actually, the logos have been on the right players the whole time. Very, very happy with that. And food start. Looks like it's going to be food start. So iamturk, playing Japan, blue north of the map. Typical things. Lucas, color green. These players have been the same colors the whole series. Playing China in the south, and both trying to look for those good treasures. So there's some decent treasures out here on the map. Cherokee Rifleman isn't bad, especially for the Chinese player if he wants to harass the Japanese monks. 140 coin, pretty good, but usually there's 100 wood treasures somewhere out on the map. But I don't see it this time, just 70 wood here. Turk is going to be working on 70 food. So both players do start with this free canoe, and Lucas is immediately, I believe he's got his warrior, or sorry, not a warrior priest, but his disciple in there to pick up these 4 cows that spawn on the island. 3, looks like just 3 cows. Aha, there's 100 wood treasure. And gonna immediately task these to his village, so very smart play from him, and he's gonna go actually for the other player's island as well. I think he's got his disciple in there. Very cheeky from him, and I like it. And I think he's gonna get away with it because Turk has been preoccupied with getting this treasure and laying down a shrine, and he's just fishing with his canoe. So both players picking up 70 food, the 1 minute 30 mark. And Lucas is choosing to chop for a second village here on this food start. Or is it going to be a trading post? No, pulls them off right at 191. Just going to lay down that second village. And he gets the first shot, so he's actually going to kill this canoe. Very cheeky. Turk's forced to run away, and he should be able to run away from this. But just kind of nice harassment from Lucas, and I really want to see him get those cows. Oh, Turk coming back into range. 3 fishing boats. Actually, this is huge, because if this guy goes down, there's nothing to protect these fishing boats. And I hope that Lucas figures that out, because these fishing boats will not be in range of this town center. Now, that's an interesting dynamic I hadn't considered before the game, which is kind of silly because it seems pretty obvious, but Turk's got to figure something out here, because you basically start with like a free raiding unit out on the water. I think that's very clever from Lucas to get that first shot off. Going to be a very slow age up for China though, because he did have to chop for that 190 wood. And yeah, I mean, Lucas sees this. Is he just going to continue to harass, or does he want those cows back at his base ASAP? Looks like he's going to take those cows back. This is a 100 wood treasure I was talking about earlier. This is this has some ESOC history in it, I guess. Haz's computer can worth a crate of 100 wood, because Haz's old computer used to be pretty bad. So I like that treasure a lot. And Lucas gonna pester these monks, and yes, immediately sending this canoe back to harass these guys. I think. Yep, that is exactly where it's going. Shipment sent, standard stuff, 3 boats from Turk, as we mentioned, and northern refugees from Lucas. There are just 3 villagers on this wonder for Lucas, and he's chopping a lot of wood in transition, so I think he's going to go for some Age 2 play, wants to kill some of these shrines out on the map. And yeah, let's take a look at this. That canoe from Turk is coming back over to try to provide some defense, but it's only got 1 hit left in it. And this is like this is huge. Lucas has to keep tasking his canoe here though, because the boats do run out of range, and the canoe doesn't follow. But it should get aggroed. Yeah, it does get aggroed. And Lucas making a trading post in transition, pretty standard. And here comes iamturk, sort of patented Japanese style. When he's not shipping 5 ashes first, he's walling in his base. And Turk's canoe does go down, so this is a pain in the behind for Turk to deal with. And potentially his first card is just going to get nullified. He's trying to run toward the coast, I think, and get some TC fire, but it's just never going to reach that canoe if Turk is careful with it. And just like that, wow, that was some ragdoll animation. That villager went flying from a simple arrow. But damn, that's big. I've said it a lot, but I want to keep saying it. That is big. So no forward base actually for Lucas. And Turk sent the Portuguese boats now. Why? Lucas runs away, but I don't know. He could be continuing to harass these guys. I mean, it's just it's kind of an unfortunate spawn. Yeah, it's too far. Like if we look at Lucas's side, this is definitely in range, right? But just not. You know, we have slight randomizations and TC placement, and actually Turk is forced to ship 2 feuds to protect his meager little 4 fishing boat economy. And well, he's going to cement water control, but that's scouted by Lucas, and you could say this is probably an overreaction from iamturk. I think Lucas will be very happy that the Japanese players just sent a card on 2 feuds, because it means he's going to get a lot of value out of these stepes. Actually, ship 7 stepes first and then 9 pike. So hasn't built a military foundry, but it looks like he's just going to rely on unit shipments to provide some siege and some anti-shrine raiding potential. Meanwhile, Turk is continuing to just shrine around the map, so I do like these first two cards from Lucas. Barracks is being placed, so units in queue. Let's check it out. 5 Ashies are in queue, so the 5 Ashies will do very well against the 7 step and the 9 pikes, but there are more units out for the Chinese player, so we should be able to siege shrines from around the map. And how greedy has Lucas gone? He doesn't have a market. Okay. And he's just laying down his wonder now. So he doesn't have any upgrades on his villagers. And even his summer palace was tech to the Chokanus and Steppe Riders. This is, you know, you want to siege this shrine being constructed, but lots of things going on. Gotta be careful, these pikes don't lose too many to the Ashies. Ashies to pick off. Oh, he's just gonna go for it. He's got these 3 Chokanus. Wants to try to get the snare off. The snare does come out, so these 4.5 speed musketeers are slowed down a bit, and these Chokanus do really good damage against the Ashigarus when they don't miss any shots. And even the Steppe Riders coming out now to defend against this pressure. Turk is doing a nice job kiting, trying to get as much value out of these units as he can. Killing off those very high siege potential Quang pikemen. And good micro from Lucas. You want to keep as many of these Steppe Riders alive as possible because that's the only thing really providing siege now. But another 5 Ashies, or 4 Ashies, excuse me, get a couple of really nice shots off on the Chokanus. And that's the benefit of having a speedy musketeer unit. You can just snipe your counter, because why not? So Lucas has just clicked up to H3. He does have his hero here. I'd like to see him maybe train some disciples. Steppe actually doing pretty decent versus Ashigar in that fight. And yeah, a few disciples pop out. So, you know, it's hard to say who that traded. I think that actually went better for Turk because Lucas spent 2 shipments in H2 to siege shrines, and he only got a few down. However, he is up to H3 much faster than iamturk, so we'll be able to apply some pressure, some nice pressure. Yeah, and these remaining Steppe are definitely going to go down. Pop into range, and okay, well, 1 escapes, but nice. So, second trading post being built by Lucas, and Hero gets away from the 5 Ashies, but stream of Ashies coming out for Turk. So he's aging up behind this, and kind of knows that he doesn't really have enough units out on the field to defend against what Lucas should be producing. And okay, here we go. Finally, is the first military batch being trained. Is this guy in cover mode right now? Why is he tanking so much? His trading post is actually going to go up. That's huge. He was in cover mode while he's building that. That's big. And with these disciplined arquebusiers, should be enough to push back Turk sort of units, especially with these redcoats here. So, kind of scrappy trades so far, very scrappy trades. It's kind of happening around the trading post line, but Lucas does get full trading post control. However, he sacrifices raiding iamturk's shrine count. So iamturk is still on 160 pop. He's been on that for a while, and has a very good economy here, 52 to 40. And 1 stagecoach comes in, that's going to be somewhat equalized, but it feels quite good for the Japanese player maybe. Stable coming down, aging with the cold and prevailing wonder. All pretty typical things. So market being built just now at 11 minutes and 40 seconds for Lucas. So still these villagers have had no upgrades on them the whole time, which is just a different way of playing. Kind of was too difficult to fit those into his build. And now he's doing China things, shipping units. He's got a lot, 40 to 21 right now. He's going to defend all of these trading posts, which are now teched up to stagecoach. And look how good that this Chinese cavalry is versus these colonial Ashigarus. Ashigarus are, of course, not the best musketeer against hand cav until they get all of their upgrades on them and close combat and stuff like that. But in colonial, they only have 13, or I think that was maybe 11 times 3.5 versus this very beefy Chinese cavalry. So 2 flaming arrows pops out, but okay. So iamturk is going to use his floon to retreat if he needs to. Kind of well positioned. He does have these two funes, so might as well make use of them as strategical pieces in this game that they're playing. But he's got to be very careful because this China Cav has a ton of range, right? And nice multipliers versus artillery, so Lucas can maybe just take this. I think he can take this, and there's no way that these flaming arrows are going to be able to run fast enough to get in that fune. Turk is going to try. Lucas's unit's kind of getting drag boxed, blocking each other, but I'd really like to see him pick these off. Turk actually manages to get it done. Gets both of the flaming arrows out, but at what cost? He's kind of forgot about the rest of his army. He spits him back out again. And yeah, just immediately picked off by Lucas. I think one is still in there, maybe? I think one is still in. But this is, you know, I like Lucas's position here. The other fune kind of really needs to come in here. 5 Nagis come out though. China player is forced to go back a bit, but he's still got the military lead, and some swords have been sieging some shrines this whole time. Where did this other fune go? It must have died. It must have. A dock comes out for Lucas. I'm not quite sure when he built that. Oh, these redcoats are ripe for a raid here, but doesn't quite notice, you know. Well, it's not within line of sight, but it's just going to be sieging some stuff, but going to lose those guys. So, units lost. When did this... Am I crazy? I must be crazy. I don't know. But a fight coming out here. This lone remaining flaming arrow. Oh, look how good these guys are versus it. But it still stays alive. This is a very important fight. Now it goes down to that Chinese cavalry. It's, you know, Ashy Nagi versus Arquebusier cavalry. I don't know. It looks like the Ashy Nagis are going to win that momentarily, but some additional reinforcing batches of cav come out for Lucas. And that should be enough to swing this fight. The Arquebusier is being nicely timed onto the Ashigars. And this China Cav does a lot better versus the Naginatas and vice versa. So this should go pretty well for the China player. However, the Ashies in melee do well versus the China Cav. And actually, iamturk pushed that back somehow. And I'm very bad at calling fights. And it looks like Japan is actually in a pretty decent spot. Well, I guess things are just super even. However, Japan is up 30 score, kind of randomly. But the economy should be pretty even with this 3 TP stagecoach. But yeah, Japan has been on a pretty high shrine count this whole time. And here's the other fune. I must have skipped it. I thought that this was this like shipment point for some reason, water shipment point. So this dock was trained by Lucas, but he hasn't used it yet. He's now getting those that food from those 6 fattened cows, so that's going to be a nice boost for him. Meanwhile, his opponent is shipping 2 cherry orchards, so not quite a power spike from Japan. So Lucas could have a window here in the near future to do some damage. Both these heroes are dying together, kind of wailing into each other. And yeah, more posturing mid-map. So actually Japan is out of coin. That's big, but he has 2,000 coin on this island that I hope he remembers to go to. He's already got villagers there on the berries, which is very smart. And that's why he was able to not send the 2 orchards until 17 minutes. Much like he did in Game 2 where he played Japan. but a very large military out for China, and Japan is not aging or anything. So Japan's got to find a way, got to find an answer to this. And the scores now, Lucas is now up in score when previously he was down by 30 just a few minutes ago. So the fattened cows, I think, gave a really nice boost to Lucas, and the orchards kind of slowed Japan down. So things are looking pretty good, and if you can get this Toshuga, that'd be a very nice pickup. Turkus actually popped now. He's at 107 out of 100 pop. Is he building shrines down anywhere? He needs pop somehow. Gonna try to go for a fight. No, he just wants to fight and get population that way. Sentries coming out from the town center, but there's a lot of stuff here for China, and China's just gonna Z move, I think. Ashigaru's trying to kite back. These Nagis are not super impactful in the fight. There are a lot of swords out here in the fight, bedcoats, etc. This looks like it should go in China's favor. Some of these swords are in cover mode, taking some ashes, not quite getting on the Nagis, but yeah, I mean this is a Chinese cleanup. And how do you come back from this? Those fumes aren't really going to protect your coast all that well, and just Lucas is going to siege. So far, I mean, it looks like Lucas has all but got this one in the books, and it's kind of an admirable 2-0 comeback. I mean, Turk will still take the series lead in the series win, but really nice play from Lucas here. Couple Nagi's gonna try to raid. iamturk is trying to do anything he can to get back in the game, but barring some sort of miraculous military delete, I think Lucas is in a pretty good spot here. It just has quadrupled the units, so that's pretty good. And just in time too, as it looks like he was out of hunts, so kind of hunting on Japanese player base. 2 flaming arrows come out, so this is actually a pretty decent trade for Turk. These arrows are well protected, and a few Nagis come out, but there's just so much stuff here for the China player. And these flaming arrows are good, but they're not great. They're not 2 Falcon Nuts worth of DPS, so putting in his Arquebusiers in stagger mode, just going to pick off these ashes, and now these flaming arrows will fall. And with that, I expect the GG. Villagers falling, punching, villagers falling, punching, stuff happening. But this looks like a cleanup. Units lost. How many villagers have gone down? It's the only stat I want to see. 17. That's a lot. And GG called. So that concludes the series. Lucas brings it back to just finish 3-2. And looks like Turk forgot a few units there in that fight, but honestly, I think things started to go a little sour when Turk was forced to ship 2 fumes because he couldn't protect his 6 fishing boats. Nice forward town center. So finally, Lucas getting a win with China and Turk losing with Japan.